Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood has not been leading the largely spontaneous outpouring of opposition to Mr. Mubarak's 30-year rule, but it has been one of the country's main opposition groups, and with Mr. Mubarak unlikely to cling to power much longer, Washington feels it can no longer ignore the fact that the Brotherhood has significant popular support in Egypt.
Since 9/11 and the problem of radical Islam became much more apparent to the American policy community, we haven't yet really developed a coherent approach to the fact of political Islam in the Middle East. But now, with the prominence of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and the changes that are obviously going on in Egypt right now, the Obama administration finds themselves having to consider some new options for dealing with this opposition group.
The United States has long been suspicious of the Muslim Brotherhood, which some here consider a dangerous fundamentalist group. But on Monday, the White House signaled it would accept a significant role for the Brotherhood, which it referred to in coded language as a non-secular actor.
I think it is clear that increase in democratic representation has to include a whole host of important non-secular actors that give Egypt a strong chance to continue to be the stable and reliable partner that the world sees in the Middle East.
U.S. diplomats have maintained low-key contacts with the Muslim Brotherhood over the years, especially after candidates affiliated to the group made significant gains in 2005 elections to the Egyptian parliament. The group has condemned terrorism, and many analysts say it is dedicated to the democratic process. These analysts argue that if the United States really wants a more democratic Egypt, Washington cannot exclude this important political force.
The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt is a moderate Islamist group. They are not radical. They do not espouse violence. They have not practiced violence for 40 years. They've renounced violence. They've actively participated in peaceful politics, meaning elections and campaigns and so on. There has been a realization in Washington that they're not a bogeyman.
Since the 1950s, the Muslim Brotherhood has been banned in Egypt and its members subject to imprisonment and torture. But the government has tolerated the group on and off.
Mubarak's strategy has always been kind of letting the Muslim Brotherhood exist, while at the same time really crushing more moderate liberal opposition groups, so they can always kind of point to the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist groups to say, I am the only alternative.
Egypt's embattled President Hosni Mubarak was happy to have the barely just tolerated Muslim Brotherhood around to show the world that his regime was needed to keep the Islamist threat under control. Now that Mr. Mubarak is on the way out, Washington is debating whether the Brotherhood should be allowed into the democratic process. There is a growing feeling here that that process will be strengthened by giving them a full role. Burton Bolag, KSA2, Washington.